What is going on, you martards out there? Yo, we are back on the scene. The PW Hustle. We are back. It's been a long time. You could call this kind of a season finale, a season premiere. You could say a season premiere, like the season premiere of SmackDown. Here we are, the season premiere of the PW Hustle. All right, it's your man's A-Track Brown, and of course, with me is my fucking broadcast brother, the most scholarly, the most magnanimous, the most effervescent, the most objective, the most scholarly, the most stupendous, and the motherfucking king of the fucking hoopla, and always, as always, the most glorious man in the IWC, YWC, TWC punditry, Chabel de la Cruz. What is going on, brother?
What's going on, A-Track? Yeah, it is a season premiere. I just had a season premiere for the Pro Wrestling Reflection podcast because, when you take the summer off, you get a suntan, you go to the beaches, you see booty, you see ass, you see titties, you got to recharge the batteries. So the professor's already been recharged. I'm ready to go. I've been talking about nostalgia with my man Tommy Wonder. Now we could talk about the present. We could talk about 2020 Deuce, the season premiere. You and I haven't been on the YouTubes in a long time. And there's one thing I want to say to you. That I want to say to the Hustleites. Do you remember one of our reviews? I said the voting was closed on the Professor's Perspective Awards on the Career Renaissance, right? I said Cody Rhodes was unilaterally the Career Renaissance winner. But you know what? Since this is the season premiere, I have an announcement for all the Hustleites out there. The Professor is adding another name to the Career Renaissance. Cody Rhodes is still there, but it's a tie right now, Track. And you're going to agree with this because everybody has to agree with this. And, it's right in front of our faces. It's too obvious that the next Career Renaissance winner is the man that is saving wrestling right now. Paul Levesque, Triple H. He is the Professor's Perspective Career Renaissance winner. It is a no-brainer. The man that has saved WWE from obscurity. The man that has raised the ratings. The man that has made has made the Marktars kind of like with their mouths open, like, what do you got to complain now? You're getting what you're asking for. Triple H is the Career Renaissance Award winner along with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. I just wanted to announce that for the season premiere of the PWHustle.
So, if you guys are wondering, why he was giving Triple H the Career Renaissance, of course, Extreme Rules was last night, as well as, on Friday we had Bound for Glory. We also had AEW Battle of the Belts, whatever the fuck that Clash of the Champion type shit is. So you had a weekend full of wrestling, with Sunday being the day off, full of football, so we can watch football later. But let's talk some of the stuff that has been going down in the past couple weeks and couple days or whatever. We'll talk Extreme Rules. We'll talk some Bound for Glory. We'll even talk some AEW. So let's, of course, start off with the most obvious last night, the huge return and the huge pop and the unnecessary piped in holy shit chants for Bray Wyatt. Now, let me just address this right off the bat. Those chants of holy shit that came across on TV were fucking piped in. I know the crowd was chanting holy shit for real, but what you saw on TV was piped in, and that shit was unnecessary. And I say this because on Twitter, you can go on my Twitter at ATRAC Brown, number ATRAC Brown. You can hear the clip on television. That shit came on everybody at the same time just chanted holy shit at the same time, and stopped at the same time. No, because when you watch the actual footage from the crowd, you see that it didn't go down like that on television. That shit was piped in. Now, I'm not saying that the crowd didn't react. Some people were mistaken thinking that I was trying to say the crowd didn't give Bray a reaction. I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm saying what the WWE played off was piped and cheers. They didn't have to do that. Bray Wyatt returning, I feel that for a lot of people. I feel that for a lot of people. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was never big on the Fiend. I wanted him to do well. Of course, the booking was fucking awful. But I didn't really care for it. Like I liked Waylon Mercy, Raven's Nest, Bray Wyatt better. You know, that's just me. But I wanted
You
him to
like the
have the
you like
success
the
that
Wyatt
he
family
deserved.
stuff. You like the Wyatt
Yeah,
family, the Fiend.
exactly. I like the Wyatt family shit versus the Fiend. But I definitely felt he had a raw deal in his booking. Um, there were people even before his booking was even being trashed. There was a lot of people who wasn't really feeling his character. They weren't. I could say some names, but I'm not going to do that shit right now. But I see a lot of people now because they want to suck off Triple H. All of a sudden, they're Fiend fans again. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a Fiend fan. I'm not. I'm not. But if the shit the character does well, that's cool. And this is also this narrative going around that AEW fans are mad. AEW fans been knew this motherfucker wasn't coming in. You could show me a handful of tweets from some marks with no followers or some people who have no fucking clue. But there were a lot of people who been knew this motherfucker wasn't coming. And right, I think a lot of that Bray Wyatt coming in chatter stopped around the time when CM Punk signed. People didn't give a fuck if Bray Wyatt came in a night. Now, of course, naturally, you had people thinking he was going to come in as the leader of the Dark Order, but, you know, a lot of people didn't even want that, but you had a lot of people that did. But, you know, he's back in WWE. Good fit for him. But, you know, this whole narrative that AEW fans are mad or whatever, I don't think they're mad. I don't think they really give a shit. I mean, whatever. But speaking of which, before we get into the Extreme Rules um, pay per view that was on last night, AEW does have its share of issues. Now, I'm not just talking about the locker room shit. I'm talking about ticket sales being down and whatnot. And now listen, in business, this happens. No one is thinking if you're thinking if you're honestly believing that AEW is somehow gonna fold or something, you're out of your fucking mind. All right, now they at a standstill right now, where ticket sales aren't where they should be, but that's actually the fault of Tony Khan, in my opinion, because I've said this from jump. I said what AEW should have been doing was doing small venues, like I guess 5,000 seat arenas. When you do your weekly show, do some 5,000 weekly shit. I mean, yeah, you could do well in other markets, but you don't have to go for the big, basketball arenas. You can do the college shit, and then when you do your pay per views, you can do the big size venues, the 15,000 seats, 20,000 seats, what have you.
Actually, track, you're half wrong. They are doing those smaller venues in certain instances. There are, but if you look at the scale of ticket sales from last year to this year, is a significant drop. But the drop is not so about the product that's going on in the ring because it's the same. It's almost the same product from last year. The problem track, I think you're missing this point here, and I think a lot of hustleites are missing this point, is the oversaturation of one particular market. They've done Chicago so many times. They did Chicago for Forbidden Door. They did Chicago for All Out. Like, I'm not trying to put down Chicago because, of course, we have some Chicago hustleites out there. But when you cater to that one market so much, track, and you put the focus on that, what happens to Los Angeles? What happens to what happens to certain parts of Florida? Not the Daily's place, Florida, but other places, Orlando, Tallahassee, Miami. What happens, to Boston, Philadelphia, Washington? What happens to Texas? What happens when you don't focus all over the scale like WWE does? But again, this is a 3-year-old company, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt track. Don't get me wrong here. But again, you oversaturated one major market to try to say this is AEW's home. And I applaud that. I'm not even going to say I'm going to deny that, but Chicago is an AEW town. They want to focus on it. They want to make sure that that's a stranglehold. Cool. They got the United Center. They got the other place. That's okay. But when you focus too much on one market and oversaturate that one market, and then what do you do, Track? You have what you call it? You had the Grand Slam event at Queens, New York. When you do the same, you do the same trap venues like WCW did. If you remember tracking like 96 and 97, 98, where they did like Starrcade in Washington, D.C. 3 years in a row. I mean, other markets want to feel what Starrcade means. Other markets want to feel the Grand Slam track. Other markets, want to feel like what's all out, the all out atmosphere and the excitement. And again, they're going to be in Toronto in a couple, like I think this Wednesday track. That's going to be a good feeling. That's a good feel good moment, and that's sold out. So no, they haven't been there. You get what I'm saying, track. So
Yeah.
if other markets feel what Dynamite offers, and they just don't get hamstrung by say, well, this is what you call this is November. Oh, this Dynamite's gonna be in Chicago again. Wow. I mean, what's the other market's feeling, track? What's the other fan base? It's like, okay, I'm not gonna spend my hard-earned money to travel to Chicago all the goddamn time to
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
AEW's moment. Come
If
to
you're
my
if you're
town. We
somebody,
can,
yeah,
yeah,
if you're somebody
to
who
our
lives in
town.
Milwaukee,
Yeah, come to our hometown. Our wrestling fans are as rabid as Chicago's wrestling fans. I'm not paying my hard-earned money to keep going to Chicago or go to Queens, New York. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish I didn't go to Grand Slam in Queens, and I live in the tri-state area, Hustleites, but I didn't. But again, other venues want to feel that moment, track. That's just the way I feel it. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just want to give that other perspective.
no, you're absolutely right. I've yet to go to an AEW show live, only because I don't know if this is them trying to compete on. I'm pretty sure they're not trying to compete. It's just the way that it is. When AEW comes around to this area, there's always a concert that I want to go to. And I'm not gonna go to a wrestling show over a concert of one of my favorite bands. That's just not gonna fucking happen. Y'all can kiss my ass.
You're
They,
deciding on your hard-earned money, and you are entitled to. That's what it is.
yeah. So for me, it's just like shit. Well, you came here and I had to pick and choose between either this or that. Even if New Japan comes around, I'm not gonna choose New Japan over Deftones, over Rage Against the Machine, over Tool, over Wu
That's a
Tang.
big fucking
It's
deal. That's epic right there. I was like, you
Yeah,
don't
it's just
understand when he
yeah, it's
says
just not gonna happen. But you're absolutely right. They sold down Toronto. Why? Because it was a market that was hungry for them that they've never been to before. So AEW has to start. First of all, I think they might have to start doing house shows pretty soon. That's just me. They're gonna have to. You can't just keep doing, your rampages and dynamites and battle of the belts every once in a while, and then move on to your pay per views. They're gonna
and
have
all,
to start
all
doing house
also
shows.
track. I'm sorry. Also track house shows are an advantage. Not for the marketing purposes and dollars, the bottom line, but also chemistry with the two wrestlers. If you want to put it, AEW Botches. I love that on Twitter. I follow them all the time, but I'm not trying to be sarcastic here. But if you have house shows track, that chemistry with two wrestlers back and forth, you see limited AEW Botches would go out of business if they had house shows. That's the way I'll say it.
No, you're right because the talent gets more familiar with each other, and I know you'll have some people listening that go, well, they let these guys do indie shows, and some of these guys work together on indie shows, so that should help right there. But it's not. They're still botching. It's not. It's not the same. It's not really the same as doing house shows with the same person every week in different states here, because the people who show up, like if John Moxley and Pac have a show at Rev Pro Wrestling. They did a couple shows out the year. That doesn't mean that they're still regular partners with the regular chemistry or whatever. They're not. That's not really going to build up like that just because they did a few shows on a tour in Europe. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? So they have to get more people. They have to have these guys build their chemistry more. And yes, you're right. That happens. That helps with house shows as well as the monetary of the situation and getting the product out there even more. You fucking pull off a good show at a house show, and you come back to that town that you didn't come back to before for a televised event. People have fucking fun at that house show. Now it's on television. I gotta go back to see it now, but just
Mm-hmm.
don't oversaturate that market. You're right. They oversaturated certain markets, and in certain markets that they're going to, that's where the ticket sales are dwindling. If they're going to markets where they haven't been to, they might see an upkeep, like in Toronto. And I know Toronto's been begging for them. I know Cali's been begging for them to come out there even more. So they have to do that in order to raise their popularity.
And
And
also
there's
also
always going to be haters out there. So, go
right.
ahead.
Also, let's not forget, year 1 to year 3 and beyond, year 4, the ticket prices, again, you could call it Biden inflation or whatever you want to call it, but AEW's got to make a profit themselves. They had $1 million gate, if I'm not mistaken, when they did the Forum Dynamite, they did $1 million gate for Grand Slam, and they did $1 million gate for, was it All Out or Forbidden Door? But you get what I'm saying. They have to raise the ticket prices too. So, they can't have those like $25 front row seats. And I'm just, making a assumption of what it was, but they were better front row ticket prices track in year 1 in comparison to what WWE did, because they always overblown the front row seats and their vacation
Yeah.
packages. And it's like, you really need to take a mortgage out on a WWE show. You didn't have to do that for an AEW show, but now AEW's got to, like, they got to start inching up those prices too. So, and you see, they got $1 million market for the Grand Slam event. They probably could do $1 million gate for the Toronto show because it's their first market. So if they jack up the prices, and I'm not against that, you got to make a profit. You got to, you got to get all the monetary gains any way you can. So, year 4, you're going to see an uptick in price and ticket prices to it. And whether the fans are going to follow suit, you got the hardcore track, that, but there's going to be some smart fans that are going to be waiting for the right event, the right venue, and all the variables to come in line to make you want to purchase it too.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Everything you're saying is spot on. So, it's not like, well, what's funny? You have ticket prices dwindling in certain markets, but with all this drama going on, the backstage fights and the media scrums, and it's boosted their ratings. For 5 straight weeks, they did over 1 million views, and they got 990,000 the day of the night of the hurricane, and they lost 10,000 viewers, which made them they were 10,000 short of 1 million. All right, for the night of that hurricane, which was honestly because of the hurricane. So,
Yeah.
and that's based off Nielsen shit. So one can say they did do 1 million, just but based off the Nielsen numbers. Like, I don't have a Nielsen box in my house, and neither do you. You know
Controversy creates ratings. We all know this.
exactly.
And one of the things is, like, you're interested because what is AEW going to do without the Young Bucks? What is AEW going to do without Kenny Omega? What is
And look
AEW
what
going to
they've
do
been
with?
doing. And
And they've been,
they and they've
yeah,
been doing these shows have not been bad.
yeah.
It's almost like
You
them being on TV was a good thing.
right. We can critique booking. Of course, I've had questions. I've said some things that Khan has done is questionable, but I've never said I wasn't entertained by what I've seen in the last 5 weeks. I've watched it too, so I can critique it and nitpick if I choose to. But that doesn't mean I hate the product track. And no, and again, I'll say this. There's one other variable for those 5 weeks, and we'll see what happens afterwards because NBA is coming along, and then NHL is coming along soon. So they might get a dip, but it probably will be maybe 980, 990. So they will be in their range. But track, they're gonna be, their range is really 900,000 to, like, let's say, 1 million and 1.1 million. So as long as they stay in their range, it's a success for TBS. It's a success for Warner Brothers and Discovery. It's not, the AEW haters can say what they want if they dip to 950,000 during NBA season, but that's a win in the professor's eyes. They stay in their range. That's the bottom line.
And if they can, I can say like this: if by the end of the year, let's just say if from now, from this Wednesday coming up till the end of the year, to the end of January, if they keep up pulling over 1 million views, they'll get to the point where that'll be their core audience. Well, they'll
Mhm.
do that. They'll just keep doing that every week, and it's all
Right.
about how much more they could rise versus how much more will they fall. Now, I think it's funny that they've been doing for 5 straight weeks over 1 million views. Who's their champion right now? John
Moxley.
Moxley. So Billy Ray, Mass Man, not Billy Ray, Mass Man. You was wrong, brother. I tried to tell you, bro. With John Moxley as the champ, those ratings was gonna go up. And right now, third time's the charm. Those ratings are over 1 million, and Jon Moxley is their champ. Not to take away credit from the acclaimed Sesame Daddy Ass. Those guys have become fucking homegrown stars. And right now, you
Well,
have
wait.
the two
Hold on,
top
Cap.
tag teams right now. Hold on. The two
Okay.
top tag teams right now are the Usos and the Acclaimed. Now, I'm not going to sit here and put the Acclaimed over the Usos. I'm not doing that. I haven't lost my fucking mind. But I'm just saying that it is very cool to see how this tag. They didn't have their homegrown tag team yet. You can sit there and say the Bucks all damn day. The Bucks weren't an AEW homegrown tag team. They just were not. You know, if you want to call them AEW originals, that's still wrong in my opinion. The Acclaimed were AEW originals. The Acclaimed started from the bottom, and now they're here. You know, and the work what they've been doing with Billy Gunn has paid off. Just like the popularity of Darby Allin being paired with Sting, who's lost some steam, but the comparison is something that you can understand what I'm saying. It helped them a lot. Yeah, bro.
I'm just gonna say I don't know the talks between you and the mass man because I edify and educate the masses on a weekly basis. But I'll say this for the 5 weeks. I ain't gonna say that Jon Moxley being the champion isn't a contributing factor. No. But we have to remember in those 5 weeks, another contributing factor, an AEW original. I don't know if you want to say homegrown too, because he's earned his upkeep too, and that's Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Oh, of
Once
course.
he came back, once people knew he came back, you're tuned in for what is he gonna say? You're tuning in for a promo. You're tuning. I don't think a lot of people, 9 out of 10 people, are not tuning in for his match. But when you get a match, that's another advantage in itself. So let's not forget MJF is a contributing factor to 5 weeks of 1 million viewers plus. I'm just gonna say.
Well, he's on his way to getting that belt. You know, I've argued with idiots online about this, and they're talking about how AEW is not pushing young talent. And one person tried to say the only reason why they're pushing young talent now is because of the suspensions of everybody else. I'm like, excuse me. And he tried to say that the Acclaim got the push because the Bucks aren't there. I'm like, they've been working on the Acclaim before this shit even happened. Before that fight even happened. Like, everybody knew when the Acclaim lost to Swerve and My Glory, they was like, okay, they're going to get the titles at Grand Slam. We know what's going to happen here. We understand the booking here. So it's like they were already working on the Acclaim. They already had Adam Page as their champion. You can see them trying to make Jurassic Boy, Jungle Boy, Jurassic Boy. Maybe you should change his name to that. You can see them trying to make Jungle Boy. You know, they continue to try to make him into a star. They're trying to get Luchasaurus to become this monster heel. They gotta change that music though. It's obvious a rip off of Kane. You don't need that shit. Change that shit. But they're trying. They're trying. And maybe Tony Khan, you know, with the shit that's been going down, that's been a wake up call for him a little bit. I hope it has been. You know, fuck trying to get Booker of the Year, motherfucker. Concentrate on your goddamn product. Fuck all of that other shit. And he has got to learn to stop trying to be a fan and a businessman at the same time. That shit's not gonna fucking work. That shit's not gonna fucking work. Right now, Triple H is ripping you off, and he's doing a better job at it in a lot of people's eyes. So what you need to do.
And also what he's doing better than Tony Khan is that he doesn't have to like answer the fans on Twitter. He doesn't have to answer the fans via
Exactly.
these interviews that, Tony Khan, God bless him, as transparent as Tony Khan is. There's a certain point in time, Tony Khan, just shut the fuck up, do what you got to do. We don't need an explanation of what you're thinking about. We don't need an explanation of where you want to go with this. Just do it. Let the fans enjoy it, or let the fans critique it. But just go with your gut feeling, and whatever. If you win, you win. If you lose, you're like, okay, the fans didn't feel it. We're gonna go another direction. Just like you talk about with the Acclaim. I have my personal feelings about FTR being, robbed of their destiny, of their glory, and I'll still say that. But that doesn't mean Tony Khan had to change. He went with his gut feeling, and you and I probably will be differing on this, but I wanted FTR to feel that glory and be the undisputed tag team of the year, which they were robbed. Whether it's the Young Bucks, whether it's Tony Khan or whatever. We could talk about like what Sammy. People could talk about Sammy Guevara being Tony Khan's boy or whatever when it comes to Andrade and shit like that. But Tony Khan doesn't have to explain everything. Just go with what you're doing, and that's it. And we'll deal with it.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another elephant in the room. Let's address the controversy between another backstage fight involving Sammy Guevara
You about to say Sami Zayn?
I was about to say Sami Zayn, yeah, getting snuffed, by somebody else. First it was Eddie Kingston, now it's Andrade. Now, a lot of people are sitting here saying that he should be suspended or he should have got in some type of trouble for what he was doing on Twitter, dragging shit out in the open. But I'm like, Andrade did an interview. He dragged shit out in the open as well. Was the public somehow not, didn't have access to the interview that he gave? Were people not aware of it? Sammy responded. Some can argue. I'm not on Sammy's side. I'm just saying how it went down. But overall, what happened? Andrade took it upon himself to put his hands on a nigga. He didn't do that. Sammy ain't do shit, so he really has nothing to be in trouble for. If you want to punish him a little bit, like what happened on Dynamite when he got that pin win, maybe that shouldn't have happened. Maybe somebody else should have got the pinfall. But they went along with that plan. But based off what happened and based off what he did, one can say you shouldn't have gave him that pinfall. But then again, Andrade was the one who fucking even said the shit that he said. But either way, he was bitching about being hit too hard or whatever, and that's ridiculous. But the point of the matter is, you got somebody putting his hands on somebody else. So you have to handle it accordingly. If Sammy didn't start the fight, if Sammy didn't throw a punch, then what am I punishing him for? Talking shit? I'm not going to punish you for talking shit. You're both grown men. You should be able to work this shit out like grown men. But Sammy is getting this fucking reputation as a bitch, and it ain't helping him none at all. It's not helping him none at fucking all. So I don't know who's been, other than Jericho and a few others, they gotta have some veterans back there to like I don't want to. I have to bring him up because it just reminds me he's one person I know wouldn't be taking this shit. If Chris Benoit was alive, he'd be having fucking Sammy Guevara's ass doing fucking 1,000 squats in the corner. All right, like he'd be taking charge back there. Like, yo, y'all better stop this bullshit right now. Regal steps up, John Moxley steps up. I don't know who, and Moxley just got he just signed a deal. He's there till 2027. No more indie shows. Only working with
New Japan
talent that associated with AEW, which is a good thing. That's a good business move, I think. As a wrestling fan, it doesn't bother me that wrestlers from any major promotion will go out and do some indie shows. That's what they do. That's wrestling. But from a business standpoint, that's good direction. That's a step in the right direction.
You just said it. You got a lot invested with Moxley, so you got to keep him in there for. If you're going to keep him there for the next 5 years, you can't have him doing indie shows. You got to do the promoted spot.
Which is exactly why I understand it. I understand it 100%.
But let me say this, going back to Sammy, because I'm not going to say that Sammy doesn't have Sammy doesn't have the slate clean too. He is an instigator.
No, you're right. You're right about that. That's why I said, he shouldn't have had that pinfall win.
No, but the pinfall that's moot point to me. I'm just going with Sammy and Andrade. I think, but there's another problem with AEW's, let's say, leadership structure. Everything is taken to Twitter. You don't need a third party like us fans critiquing back and forth or tweeting to Andrade saying you're a bitch, or Sammy, you're an instigator, or you wanted to rape Sasha Banks and say all these bullshit stuff. Someone needs to put the reins down and either make sure that everybody is there's a watchdog. You need to have a position of AEW Twitter watchdog or something. The professor will volunteer his services. TK, pay me a good sum of money, and I'll make sure everybody is on their P's and Q's, watching what they're tweeting here. Again, it's a little fascist, it's a little communism, but communism. AEW needs communism in their locker rooms more than. That's all I can say right now. It's the truth, track. You got to understand this. You know, Chris Jericho said it. You know, there's nothing unhealthy about having like people, having like emotions running rampant behind the scenes in the locker room. That's normal. You and I know that. There's history of
Exactly.
this for many decades. And the WWE handle it internally with wrestlers' court. The WWE had their locker room leader with The Undertaker. And I don't know if Roman Reigns is the locker room leader right now, but you get where I'm going. Chris
Yeah.
Jericho knows that environment. He needs to be a real locker room leader. Bryan Danielson, locker room leader. Who else we could say? Adam Cole could be a locker room leader, but you get the veterans need to take reins of the locker room and be that strong leading presence. Of course, if Mox is going to be there for the next 5 years and he's a mentor, you got another job, locker room leader. People will respect you if you put the reins down and stop all this bickering bullshit. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you gotta make examples out of some people, and sometimes you gotta go a little old school with the way you handle shit. And see now there's this narrative that Andrade is doing what he's doing to try to get fired. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but what I think is that Andrade himself is not maybe particularly happy with everything that's going on with AEW. I don't think he's trying to go back to the WWE, but I don't think he really gives a shit if they really fire him. Um, I feel that like because right now I think that AEW was really trying to help Andrade in a lot of ways. They haven't done a lot of good ideas with him have not been working. I don't know if it was his idea or Tony's, but the private party shit wasn't going anywhere. The CFO shit wasn't going anywhere. The shit with the Butcher and Blade wasn't going anywhere. But you see that they were trying to do something. Now they got Rush. Now they got Bandito. So one can say that they are trying to cater to Andrade in some ways. They bring in his boys, starting Los Ingobernables Faction, which I hope. This is why I don't want Andrade to leave. Right now, all your peoples is there, my nigga. Don't fuck this up, all right? Humble yourself. Say, I apologize. I want to work with y'all. Let's get this Los Ingobernables shit going on. Please, let's don't nah. You got Rush, Bandito, Andrade. We can build off from there. Fuck Private Party. Fuck Butcher and the Blade. All these niggas. Start the fucking the Los Ingobernables shit. Start it right now. Fuck all the bullshit. You know.
This is one of the trappings track of what the little bit of the nitpicking that I would say that AEW does is because some people have momentum, and some people you and I probably will think you can have long term booking with. You already said with Andrade, Los Ingobernables, with Rush and Bandito and all that stuff. You could do some stuff with maybe Lucha Brothers too if you want to expand into more of an international flavor with Los
Exactly.
Ingobernables. But
Exactly. Right now they have so many awesome Latino stars that they have like all the angles that they could do right now. I don't want to say just make angles for just Latin stars. I'm just saying with what they can do with that, a lot of that shit writes itself.
I don't mind.
I don't mind either. I'm not saying I don't mind it. I'm just not saying. I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm just saying that if they wanted to go that route, they got it.
I'm just saying that the hiccup of AEW with Tony Khan is that some people have momentum, and then Tony Khan puts the kibosh on some of this momentum. You talked about Darby Allin. He's kind of lost a little bit of steam, and of course he could get it back. No, don't get me wrong. Warlow's a good example of someone who had some momentum after MJF, and then Tony Khan kind of like had this weird booking of him. I can go back to FTR again, and I'll keep saying
You
that's
know
my
what it feels like to me? Here's what it is. At least when I look at guys like Wardlow, I see, and this is something that I've said that they should do. And I don't know if this is what he's doing, but it has a feel to me where, all right, Wardlow was going on this big run, right? He had this feud with MJF, and then he went on to win the TNT title. So in a lot of ways, I felt that what he was doing was giving Wardlow kind of his off season. All right, you just came out this big feud, just parlay for a while, then we'll come up with something with you. We'll rest you up here, you know. We'll rest you up here. But I know as far as the wrestling mantra is concerned, you might cool off a guy way too fast by doing that. But that's just what it felt like to me. That's just me.